ring cut into my palm when I grabbed his hand. It was not a promise ring. It was a thick band of gold, fresh and bright, the kind you could not miss. He tried to pull away, but I held on, and the metal stayed against my skin like it burned. I stared at it until my eyes hurt. I had seen his hands 100 times. There had never been a ring. He had told me he hated jewelry. He had told me the army did not allow it at work. Now it sat on his finger like it belonged there. He yanked his hand free and shoved it into his pocket. His face tightened fast, like a door slamming. He looked past me, not at me, as if I was not in the room. I heard my own voice, thin and shaking. I asked him why he had a wedding ring. He said it was nothing. He said it was for a friend. He said he wore it sometimes to keep women away when he traveled. His words came too quick. They did not connect to each other. His eyes moved from the window to the floor and back again. I stepped closer. I told him to show me his hand again. I told him to take it out. He did not. He backed up until his shoulders touched the wall. I saw sweat on his temple. I had never seen him sweat like that when it mattered. He had always been calm, even when he was angry. This was different. This was fear. I reached for his pocket. He slapped my hand away. The sound cracked through the room. I felt my skin sting, but the pain did not matter. The ring mattered. The ring was real. I saw his phone on the table. The screen lit up with a message preview. I did not try to read it at first. I just watched the name at the top. It said wife. It was not a joke name. It was not a nickname. It was a label, clean and simple, like it had been there for a long time. My stomach turned hard. The air felt thick, like it had weight. I asked him who that was. He moved fast and flipped the phone over. He said it was spam. He said the phone did that by itself. He said I was making a big deal out of nothing. I wanted to laugh, but nothing came out. My throat felt tight. I could hear my heart in my ears. I stared at the phone like it was an animal that might bite. I told him to unlock it. I told him to show me the messages. He said no. He said I did not respect his privacy. He said I was acting crazy. He said he had to leave soon, that he could not deal with this before duty. The word duty hit me wrong. It was the word he used to end every hard talk. Duty meant he could vanish. Duty meant I could not ask questions. I stepped in front of him. I told him I would not move until he told me the truth. He leaned in close. His voice dropped low, sharp, and controlled. He told me to stop. He told me I was going to ruin things for him. He did not say I was wrong. He did not say he was not married. He only told me to stop. That was when I knew. The ring was not a mistake. The contact name was not a glitch. There was a whole life I had not been allowed to see. I made my hands go still. I made my face go blank. I asked him again, softly this time, if he was married. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once, like it was nothing. like it was a small fact he could hand me and walk away from. I felt cold spread through my chest. I asked him how long. He said it was recent. He said it did not count. He said it was paperwork. He said it was for benefits. He said he had to do it. He said it was not real like us. His mouth kept moving, but I only heard pieces. Benefits. Paperwork. Not real. He reached for my waist as if his touch could erase the ring. I stepped back. I told him not to touch me. I told him to leave. He did not leave. He watched me like he was measuring what I would do next. Then his phone buzzed again on the table. The screen lit up before he could stop it. The same name flashed. Wife. This time, I saw the message preview. It said, "I found your other charger. It smells like perfume. Who was here?" He snatched the phone so fast it almost fell. His face went pale. He looked at me, and something hard formed behind his eyes. He started typing. His thumbs moved quick. He turned away from me like I was not there, like I was furniture. My own phone vibrated in my pocket, and the sound made my skin jump. I pulled it out without thinking. A new text sat at the top of my screen. From him, sent just now. It said, "Do not say anything. I already told her you were nobody." My phone rang again before I could even breathe. The caller ID showed his mother. I had never saved her number. I had never given her mine. My skin went cold as if someone had poured ice water down my back. I answered, and she spoke like she had been waiting with her finger on the button. She did not say hello. She said my name like it was dirty. Then she said I was a disease. She said I spread myself on men and tried to break homes. I stood still with the phone pressed to my ear. I listened to her voice fill the room. It sounded calm. That made it worse. She did not sound shocked. She sounded practiced. I told her I did not understand. My voice came out low, like I was afraid of being heard. She laughed once. It was short and sharp. She said I knew exactly what I was doing. She said her son was a married man. She said he had a wife now, a real wife. She said the wife was a good woman. She said I was nothing but a problem that needed to be cut away. The word married hit me again, but this time it came from his own blood. It felt final. It felt like a door closing and locking. I asked her how she got my number. I asked her why she was calling me instead of him. She said the army made men tired and weak. She said women like me hunted them. She said she had raised him better than this. Then her voice changed. It turned softer, almost kind. She said she wanted to help me leave before things got ugly. I held the phone tighter. My hand shook. I looked at the door, then at the window, like someone might be standing outside listening. I told her I did not want him. I told her I did not even know about any wife. I told her I found out today. I waited for her to sound confused. She did not. She said lies were what I did best. She said she had already seen the messages between me and him. She said she had seen the photos. She said she had seen the dates. She said I had been with him while he wore his uniform, and while he slept in a bed he paid for with his wife. I felt my throat tighten. I did not ask how she had seen anything. I did not want her to answer. She kept going. She said her son had made a mistake. She said every man made mistakes. She said the mistake ended now. She said I would delete every photo and every message. She said I would stop contacting him. She said if I cared about my own safety, I would do what she said. I asked her what she meant by safety. I tried to sound steady. She let out a slow breath, like she was tired of me. She said their family had friends. She said they knew people on base. She said they knew people in town. She said they could make my life hard without touching me. She said they could make sure no one believed me if I tried to talk. My mouth went dry. I heard a small clicking noise on the line, like another phone had joined. I froze. I listened. I heard a faint breath that was not mine. I asked her if someone else was there. She ignored the question. She said the wife was crying. She said the wife was sick to her stomach. She said I was poison. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She said I should be careful with my car at night. She said accidents happened to women who did not know their place. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not give her that. I forced my voice to stay flat. I told her I would not argue. I told her I would think about what she said. She sounded pleased, like she had trained animals before. She said good. She said she would check that I behaved. After I ended the call, I stood in silence and tried to slow my breathing. My hands still shook, but my head felt clear in a hard way. I opened my messages with him. I scrolled back through months. I took screenshots of everything. I saved his voicemails. I saved the dates. I saved the times. I saved the pictures that showed his face and his uniform and the places he claimed he had been alone. Then I looked at the ring again in my mind, bright and fresh, and I imagined it sitting on someone else's finger. My phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. It was her. It said, "You will regret touching my family." I sat in the dark, with my phone brightness turned low, like light itself could get me caught. I did not turn on a lamp. I did not play music. I listened for any sound outside my door while I worked, because his mother had spoken like she could reach into my life with one call. I opened our message thread and scrolled back until my thumb hurt. His words looked different now. Every sweet line had a sharp edge. Every "I miss you" sounded like a cover. Every "I am alone" tonight felt like a lie he had practiced until it sounded true. I took screenshots in blocks, making sure the dates showed. I captured his missed calls. I captured the long calls too. I captured the nights he said he could not talk because he was on duty, then called me anyway. I moved to my email and searched his name. I found flight details he had sent me. I found hotel confirmations. I found screenshots he had sent to prove where he was, meant to make me trust him. Now they looked like a map of a double life. I made a folder and saved everything. I backed it up twice. I did it like I was building a case for court, because it felt like I might need it to stay safe. Then I opened my photo gallery and searched by location. My hands went numb when I saw how many pictures had tiny timestamps that matched his stories. His face, his uniform, his tattoos, his hand on my leg, his watch, the same watch I had bought him. I zoomed in on details I used to ignore. A suitcase tag, a key card, a mirror reflection where his phone screen showed the time. Small proofs he had never expected me to study. I went through my call logs and wrote down dates on paper. I did not trust the phone alone. I wrote it like a ritual: date, time, duration, his number, unknown numbers. The late night calls he insisted were short because he had to sleep. The early morning calls when he whispered and told me he had to be quiet because someone was nearby. I remembered how I had believed him. Now I heard a wife sleeping in the next room. I opened his voicemails and listened again. His voice slid into my ear like oil. He sounded gentle. He sounded tired. He sounded like a man who needed comfort. He said he wanted a future. He said he had never felt safe with anyone until me. I had stored those messages like treasure. Now they made my stomach turn because I heard how careful he had been. He never said where he was. He never said names. He never said anything that could tie him down. One voicemail ended with a click, not the normal hang-up sound. A click like a button press. Then a second of silence. Then his voice again, lower and colder, as if he thought he had ended the recording. He said, "Delete it if she ever asks." He laughed under his breath. Then the message cut off. I sat there with the phone against my ear, not breathing. He had known there might be a she. He had planned for questions. He had planned for damage control. The fear I felt did not come from the cheating alone. It came from how ready he had been for war inside his own life. I searched my texts for one phrase he used all the time. I typed it into the search bar. "I cannot talk long. My roommate is asleep." The results stacked up, month after month. It looked normal at first. Then I noticed something strange. The exact same sentence appeared more than once, with the same punctuation, the same spacing, the same little mistake where he wrote "you're" instead of "you are." I copied the sentence and pasted it into a notes app. Then I opened his social media messages, the ones he had begged me not to mention. I searched the same phrase there too. Nothing. I almost stopped. Then I remembered his phone lighting up with that clean label, "Wife." I did something I had never done before. I checked my blocked messages folder, the place where spam went to die. I did not know why I checked it. Maybe because my fear had made me suspicious of everything. There was a message request from a woman I did not know. It was weeks old. Her name sat there like a small threat. It said, "Hi, I do not know you, but I think we are seeing the same man. He told me I cannot talk long. My roommate is asleep. Is that you he meant?" I did not sleep. I sat at my table with a pen and clean paper, and I wrote like I was disarming a bomb. I kept my hands steady. I kept my sentences plain. I did not write anger. I wrote facts. I wrote the first letter to his wife. I did not know her name, so I began with "I am sorry." I wrote that I had been in a relationship with him while he was married to her. I wrote that I did not know he had a wife until I saw a wedding ring and a message that showed the contact name wife. I wrote the date and time when I saw it. I wrote his exact words after that. "Do not say anything. I already told her you were nobody." I added a timeline. I listed the dates he stayed with me. I listed the dates he called me late at night. I listed the dates he traveled and said he was alone. I wrote locations. I wrote hotels. I wrote any detail I could prove without guessing. I wrote that I had screenshots and call logs and photos, and that I was including copies. I wrote that if she needed more, I could provide it. My stomach twisted while I wrote it. Every line felt like I was cutting my own skin, but the words stayed simple. No insults, no threats, just proof. Then I wrote the second letter to his mother. My hand shook more during this one. I could still hear her voice calling me a disease. I wrote her name at the top because I wanted her to know I was not afraid to address her directly. I wrote that I had received her call and her message. I wrote that I had saved them. I wrote that threatening me would not erase what her son had done. I wrote that I had not been the one who broke vows I never made. I wrote that her son had lied to me and to his wife. I wrote that I was sending the same information to the wife because the wife deserved the truth. I wrote that if anyone contacted me again with threats, I would treat it as harassment. I did not mention police. I did not mention lawyers. I did not try to sound powerful. I just wrote it like a record. I wanted her to feel how careful I had become. I printed the evidence next. I chose only what could not be argued. Screenshots with his name and number visible. Call logs with dates and duration. Photos where his face showed clearly. A picture where his ring was not on his hand, taken days before the day I saw it. Then a later photo where the gold band flashed bright under light. I laid the pages in 2 stacks. Wife, mother. The house felt too quiet. I kept thinking I heard a car door outside. I kept thinking I heard footsteps in the hall. Each time I froze, pen in hand, listening. Nothing came. The silence made me feel watched anyway. I slid the first stack into an envelope. I sealed it and pressed my thumb along the edge until it stuck. The sound of the seal closing felt final, like a mouth shutting. I did the same with the second envelope. Then I wrote the addresses. I had found them the hard way. A marriage record online. A property listing linked to his last name. A family post from his mother that showed a mailbox number in the background. Small scraps of their life that they had left in public without thinking. I checked everything twice. I did not want a mistake. A mistake could warn them. A mistake could give them time to twist the story first. When the envelopes were ready, I held them in my hands and felt their weight. Paper did not weigh much, but these did. They felt like they were full of stones. Outside, the night air smelled wet and cold. I walked to the mailbox at the corner with my hood up and my shoulders tight. Each step felt loud. A car passed, slow, and my body went stiff until it was gone. I stood in front of the slot and hesitated. I thought of his mother's message. I thought of his face when he typed to his wife. I thought of the word wife on his screen, clean and confident. Then I pushed the first envelope in. It disappeared. I pushed the second one in. It disappeared too. The metal flap swung shut with a dull sound. I stared at the mailbox as if it might open and spit them back out. It did not. It only sat there, quiet and waiting, like a mouth that had just swallowed something alive. I turned to leave, and my phone vibrated in my pocket. I did not look at it right away. My hands were suddenly cold and damp. I had dropped the envelopes, and I knew I had started something that could not be pulled back. When I finally looked down, I saw a new message from an unknown number. It said, "We need to talk before the mail comes." I sat on my bed with my laptop open and my phone in my hand. The unknown message still glowed on the screen. "We need to talk before the mail comes." I read it again and again until the words lost shape. He knew. He should not have known. I tried his email login because my mind kept returning to one small detail. Months earlier, he had asked me to print a form for him when his printer broke. He had typed his password in front of me and told me not to look. I had looked. I had not meant to keep it. My head had kept it anyway, like my body knew I would need it. My fingers moved before my fear could stop them. I typed his email address. I typed the password I remembered. The screen loaded. It did not reject me. It opened like a door that should have been locked. A security alert popped up at the top. New sign-in. Location unknown. My chest tightened. It felt wrong to be there, but it also felt like the only place where the truth could not hide. His inbox was not quiet. New messages stacked up like fresh wounds. The subject lines alone made me sweat. "Why is there perfume in your car? Your mother said you were handling it. Call me now. I am not stupid." Then another one, from a sender name I did not recognize. It was a woman's name. The subject line said, "Are you still coming tonight?" I clicked his sent folder. My throat went dry. He had replied to his wife with fast, clean lies. He wrote that a soldier under him had borrowed the charger. He wrote that the perfume was from a ride-share car. He wrote that she was stressed and imagining things. He ended with "I love you." He used the words like bandages. He wrote to his mother too. He told her to keep pressure on me. He told her to scare me quiet. He wrote, "She is unstable. She wants attention." He wrote, "If she reaches out, tell her we will report her." Report her. The words sat on the screen like a threat with teeth. My hands started to shake so hard I had to grip the edge of the laptop. I opened his drafts folder, expecting nothing. There were many drafts, Too many. Each one had a different tone, like masks laid out on a table. One draft was sweet and apologetic. It started, "Baby, please forgive me." I panicked. Another draft was cold and legal. It started, "Do not contact me again. Further contact will be considered harassment." Another one was worse. It was addressed to someone with a military email address. The subject line said, "Request for guidance." He had written only 2 lines. He had stopped mid-sentence. It looked like he had been building a plan for this moment for a long time. I returned to the inbox and sorted by newest. Messages arrived as I watched. His wife sent one that made my stomach flip. It said, "I checked your email. Who is she? Why is there a second phone number saved under a man name?" He responded within minutes. I watched the timestamps. I watched the live form in real time. He wrote back that someone was trying to frame him. He wrote that a jealous civilian had hacked him. He wrote that I was a one-time mistake and that I kept coming back. He wrote that he had blocked me and that I would not stop. He wrote, "I am afraid she will hurt you." Afraid hurt you. He used fear like a tool. He shaped it to point away from him and toward me. Then a new email arrived from a postal notification service. It confirmed 2 pieces of mail had been accepted at the drop box. It listed a pickup time for the next morning. It was not my account, but the service email had been linked to his. He had set it up. He had been watching mail like a guard dog. My breath came short. I understood why he had texted me. He had gotten an alert. He had known the moment I fed the mailbox. I searched his email for my name. The results loaded, and my skin crawled. He had forwarded screenshots of my messages to a folder labeled evidence. He had written notes beside them. He had highlighted lines out of context. He had built a story where I was the problem and he was the victim. At the bottom of that folder was a recent file, a document attached to an email draft. The draft was addressed to his commander. The subject line read, "Urgent. Potential exposure and security issue." I opened it and read the first sentence. "Sir, I need to disclose that I reported a break in last month that did not happen. And now a civilian has proof I lied." My screen refreshed by itself, and a new notification slid to the top of his inbox. It said, "Your password was changed successfully." The time stamp matched the minute I stared at it. She had gotten in deeper than I had. She had started locking doors inside his life. Another alert followed. Recovery phone number updated. Then another. 2-factor authentication enabled. Each one hit like a pulse. I had been inside his email, but now I felt trapped in it, watching a house fire from inside the kitchen. Then his wife emailed him again. The subject line was no longer questions. It was a statement. I saw it arrive in real time. "I read your drafts." I clicked it and felt my face go cold. She had quoted his own words back at him. She wrote that she saw the folder labeled evidence. She wrote that she saw he had been preparing to call her unstable too, if she ever caught him. She wrote that she saw he had lied to his commander about a break-in. She wrote that she did not know who she had married. A reply appeared from him within 2 minutes. Not comfort, not apology, control. He wrote, "Stop digging. You are making this worse." He wrote that someone had hacked him. He wrote that civilians did not understand military paperwork. He wrote that she was embarrassing him. He wrote that she needed to calm down and come home. Come home. The words made my stomach tighten. He was not asking, he was ordering. Her response came fast. Too fast for someone who was calm. It looked like shaking hands on a keyboard. "I am home. Where are you?" He did not answer that question. Instead, he sent a new message, and I watched the lie get built while his wife stood in the dark with it. "Do not talk to anyone. Do not call your mother. Do not leave the house." My throat went dry. It read like instructions you gave to a hostage, not a wife. A new email arrived from a shared account I did not even know existed. It was a smart home notification. Camera motion detected. Front door. The time stamp matched the minute after he told her not to leave. I had not been watching their house, but his email had been receiving these alerts for months. He had kept the keys to her safety in his inbox. Another notification followed. Alarm disabled. Then garage opened. I sat very still and listened to the silence around me. I felt as if I could hear the echo of their home through the screen. I imagined her standing there, phone in hand, reading his commands. I imagined him entering, calm on the outside, angry underneath. Her next email was short. "He is here." I waited, staring at the inbox like it might show blood. Nothing came for 3 minutes, then 5. I could not breathe right. I kept checking the sent folder, as if I could catch his hands moving. Then his wife sent another message. He took my phone. A second later, his account sent an email to her from his address. I recognized the sharpness. It was him. It was written to sound like her. "Everything is fine." I overreacted. I felt sick. He was inside her words now. He was wearing her voice like clothing. Another smart home alert appeared. Interior camera offline. Then a location service notice from his phone provider. Device location sharing disabled. It was like watching someone pull wires out of a room while a person still stood inside it. I opened his drafts again and saw a new one appear as I watched. He was typing somewhere. The draft updated line by line, like a live heartbeat. If questioned, state that my wife experienced an emotional episode. She had access to my accounts. She sent false information. He had already decided what she was. An episode, a problem, something to be handled. Then an email arrived from the wife's address again. The tone was different. It was careful and flat, like someone speaking while another person listened. "I will not contact you again. Please stop." I knew it was not her. It was too clean. It was the kind of sentence written at gunpoint without a gun. I did not know what to do with what I was seeing. I could not call her. I did not know her number. I could not call him without giving him my voice. My hands hovered over the keyboard, useless. Then the inbox changed again. A new message came from her, not to him this time. It came to the email address I had used to contact her in my letter. She had found it from the pages I mailed. It was one line only, and it did not mention cheating at all. If he shows up at your door, do not open it. I did not stop at his love messages after that warning from his wife. I searched his email like I searched a crime scene. I typed words that scared me. Deployment, clearance, statement, incident, investigation. A folder appeared that I had not noticed before. He had named it Timeline. It sat inside another folder called Pre-Deployment. The files inside were not romantic. They were charts and scanned forms and notes with dates. One document listed days and hours in blocks. It looked like a plan for a story, not a plan for a life. Next to some dates, he wrote my first name. Next to others, he wrote his wife's name. Next to others, he wrote mother. He had placed us like pieces on a board. I opened a file named Alibi Notes. My throat tightened when I saw my address typed at the top. Under it, he had written, if asked, say I stayed here to avoid barracks drama. Keep it simple. Then he had written a list of days when he had been with me. He had added, use her texts for timestamps. I remembered moments that had felt small at the time. He had asked me to message him at exact times. He had asked me to take pictures in specific places. He had acted playful about it, like it was a game. I had done it because I wanted him to feel cared for. Now I saw he had been building proof, and I had handed it to him. Another file was a scanned form with a military header. It looked like a sworn statement. Parts were blacked out, but I could still read enough to feel sick. He had reported a break-in at his place the month before. He had claimed items were missing. He had claimed he had been away from home that night. The attached notes showed where he said he had been. He had written my address again. He had written, she can confirm. Civilian witness. My hands went cold. I understood why he had drafted that email to his commander about reporting a break-in that did not happen. It had not been a mistake. It had been a move. He had needed a report on record, and he had needed someone outside the army to back it up. I found another email chain with a subject line that mentioned housing allowance. He had written to an admin office about his marital status. He had attached a marriage certificate. He had asked how fast his pay would update before deployment. He had signed with his full rank and name. Then he had forwarded the same email to himself with a note that said, keep this clean. No drama before wheels up. If anything hits, blame the civilian. The word civilian was me. He had not typed my name there. He had typed civilian like I was not a person. I dug deeper and found a document titled Narrative. It read like a script. It described me as an obsessed ex. It described my messages as harassment. It described his wife as a victim. It described him as calm and cooperative. He had even written suggested lines for his mother to say if she got questioned. He had built this before I ever mailed anything. He had expected exposure, and he had prepared a shield made out of my own texts and my own pictures. I had thought I was the secret. I had been a tool. The worst part came at the bottom of the folder. A PDF had my name inside it, not just in notes. It was a form with a blank space filled in for witness contact information. My email was there. My phone number was there. It looked official. It looked like something meant for an investigation file. My chest felt tight. I pictured strangers in uniform calling my phone. I pictured my words being recorded. I pictured him sitting in a room and pointing at me like I was the danger. I had wanted to expose a cheating man. I had not meant to step into his military lies. Then my laptop made a soft sound. A new message arrived in his inbox, and it did not come from his wife or his mother. It came from an address that ended in a military domain. The subject line said, "Request for civilian statement. Preserve all communications. Do not delete anything." The first unknown call came 5 minutes after I read the military email. My phone rang once, then stopped. A second later, it rang again. No caller ID. I did not answer. The silence after each ring felt like someone standing outside my door and knocking with one finger. Then the voicemail started. The first one had no words. It was just breathing, slow and close to the mic. At the end, I heard a faint click, like a seat belt buckle. I saved it and labeled it with the time. A second voicemail came from a different number. A man spoke low, like he did not want to be heard. He said my name. He said I should stop contacting people. He said I was causing stress for a married couple. He said I did not want to make this a bigger issue. He did not say who he was. He did not need to. My screen lit up with texts from numbers I did not recognize. One said, "You think you are safe because you can type." Another said, "Keep your mouth shut." Another said, "We know where you live." The words were plain. That made them worse. They sounded like someone reading instructions. I checked my windows without turning on lights. A car sat at the curb across the street. Its engine was off. The inside was dark. I watched it for a long time. It did not move. I could not tell if it was there for me. I could not prove it. That was the point. Uncertainty started to feel like a hand around my throat. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a name I knew. A mutual contact from his unit, a man I had met once. He wrote, "Hey, can you call me? It is important." I did not call. I asked what it was about. He answered right away. He wrote that I needed to stop. He wrote that my ex was a good soldier. He wrote that I was going to ruin a career over personal drama. He wrote that I did not understand what I was messing with. The words personal drama made my stomach turn. His ring had been real. His wife's fear had been real. The paperwork in his email had been real. But they kept calling it drama, like the truth was just noise. My phone rang again from an unknown number. I answered this time because my fear had turned sharp. No one spoke at first. I listened to the sound on the line. I heard a TV in the background. I heard a woman cough. Then a familiar voice came through, calm and cold. It was him. He told me I had crossed a line. He told me I had contacted his wife and his mother with lies. He told me the army was involved now, and it would not go well for me. He told me I would be interviewed, and if I said the wrong thing, I could be charged with harassment and false reporting. I asked him why he had a folder called Timeline. The line went quiet for a second. Then he laughed once, soft and controlled. He told me to stop pretending I knew anything. He told me to delete everything. He told me to send one message to his wife saying I made it up. He said if I did that, he could make this end. Behind his voice, I heard another breath close to his phone, like someone was listening beside him. My skin crawled. I pictured his wife in the same room, silent. I ended the call without warning. My hands shook so hard, I dropped my phone on the bed. I did not retreat. I opened my laptop again and pulled up the military email that asked for a civilian statement. I did not reply with feelings. I replied with facts. I wrote that I had evidence of a planned narrative and alibi notes with my address. I attached screenshots of the folder names and the files with timestamps visible. I attached the voicemails from the unknown numbers. I wrote that I feared retaliation. When I hit send, my stomach clenched because it felt like stepping off a ledge. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a new text from him. It was not a plea. It was not a threat with soft edges. It was pure certainty. It said, I see the login history. You were in my email. My phone kept lighting up after he told me he saw the login history. The unknown numbers stopped for a while, like someone had switched from shouting to planning. The silence felt worse than the threats. It felt like the moment after a door closed when you realized you were not alone. A mutual contact sent me a message that did not sound like him. He wrote that my ex got pulled into the office. He wrote that people asked questions about a false report and about a civilian witness. He wrote that my name was being said out loud in places I had never been. He wrote that I should be careful what I said because it was now official. Then his mother called again. She did not start with insults this time. She started with crying. Her breath shook in my ear. She said her son was being attacked by liars. She said his wife had turned on him. She said I had ruined everything. Behind her crying, I heard shouting, a man voice and a woman voice. I could not make out words, but I heard the sound of something being slammed, hard and close to the phone. I asked her where he was. She stopped crying at once. Her voice went flat. She said he was fine. She said he was handling it. She told me to watch my back. Then she ended the call. An hour later, I got an email from his wife. It came from a new address. It was not linked to his accounts. It was plain text with no greeting. He told them you broke in. He told them you stole things. He told them you made it up because you were jealous. My stomach turned. That was his script. That was the narrative I had found. He was not just protecting himself. He was trying to load the blame onto me like a weapon. I replied with one question. I asked her if she was safe. Her answer came after a long delay. Not with him. Then another email arrived from her, shorter and sharper. I changed the locks. I stared at that line until my eyes burned. I pictured his face when a door did not open for him. I pictured his hands on the knob, calm at first, then tighter, then shaking with anger. I pictured him turning that anger toward the nearest target. I did not know if that target would be her or me. A smart home alert hit his inbox again, forwarded to the same system email he used. I still had access to the notification copies that arrived to a service account he forgot about. The alert said, "Front door forced open." It listed the time. It listed the sensor name. Then another alert followed, "Interior camera restored." Another followed right after, "Interior camera offline." I sat very still. My chest felt tight. I imagined him ripping a camera from the wall because it looked at him the wrong way. His wife wrote again. He is tearing the house apart. He keeps saying my phone is mine, but my accounts are his. A new message from my mutual contact came in right then. He wrote that my ex had been told not to contact me. He wrote that my ex had laughed and said I would not talk anyway. He wrote that my ex kept saying the same sentence over and over. She was in my email. She stole my files. She is the threat. I felt a cold pressure behind my eyes. I had been trying to expose a liar, but now he was turning my proof into a crime. He was trying to make the truth look like an attack. That night my doorbell rang once. I did not move. It rang again. I held my breath and listened. I heard footsteps on the walkway. I heard a car door close. When I finally looked through the peephole, no one stood there. The hallway light flickered once, then steadied. I told myself it was a neighbor. I did not believe it. My phone buzzed with a final message from his wife. He said he cannot leave until he fixes you. I read it 3 times. The word fixes did not feel like a normal word. It felt like something you did to a problem, not a person. Then an email hit my inbox from an address I recognized. It was his personal email, not the one I had entered before. The subject line was simple. Before I go. The message inside was one sentence. I was coming to see you tonight, and you were going to tell them you hacked me. Or I was going to make sure you never spoke again. The next morning, my phone stayed quiet for 2 full hours, and that silence scared me more than any call. I kept my curtains closed. I kept my shoes on. I waited for the knock he promised. It never came, but my inbox filled like a sink that would not drain. An email arrived from the same military address that had asked for my statement. It told me not to contact the soldier directly. It told me to preserve evidence and expect a formal interview. The tone was cold and careful. It did not say his name, but it did not need to. The message made my hands sweat because it meant my private life had become a file on someone's desk. Then my mutual contact messaged again. He wrote that my ex got pulled from work in front of other people. He wrote that 2 senior leaders walked him out of the building and into an office. He wrote that my ex tried to smile and act calm, but his jaw kept jumping like he was chewing something hard. He wrote that they took his phone. I stared at that line. They took his phone, and I felt my lungs open for the first time in days. So much of his power had lived in his calls and texts. He had used them like hands. Someone finally took his hands away. His mother sent me a message from a new number. She did not call me a disease this time. She wrote that her son was being targeted by a bitter woman. She wrote that I had ruined a marriage. She wrote that she would pray for me. Then she wrote, "We still know where you live." The words sat there, plain and ugly, like a note left on a pillow. A minute later, his wife emailed me again. The message was longer than before, but every sentence felt clipped, like she had to fight to type it. She wrote that he came home in a rage when he realized the command was involved. She wrote that he accused her of setting him up. She wrote that he tried to make her say I was a stalker. She wrote that he demanded she show him the letter I mailed. She wrote that when she refused, he broke a kitchen chair with his hands and told her it was her fault he might lose everything. I read that part twice. The chair, his hands. I could almost hear wood snapping. I imagined the sound in a small room and the way it would make your body go still. She wrote that she left with a bag and went to a friend's house. She wrote that she contacted legal help on base. She wrote that she reported what he did in the house. She wrote that she sent the command the same screenshots I had sent her because she did not want to be alone in the story he planned. Then she added one line that made my throat tight. He kept saying he had a deployment coming and he could not go down for this. My mutual contact confirmed it an hour later. He wrote that my ex was removed from a roster. He wrote that people whispered about a false report, about money, about a marriage that started too fast. He wrote that my ex's name was suddenly something others avoided, like it carried infection. That evening, a private account on social media posted a photo of him in uniform with his wife at a courthouse. The caption said, "I deserved better than lies." Within minutes, the comments turned into questions. Friends asked what happened. Someone tagged his mother. Someone else posted that he had been seen with other women. It spread fast because people liked drama when it was not theirs. I watched it happen like a slow collapse, brick by brick, in public. I should have felt clean satisfaction. Instead, I felt a sick weight in my stomach. Each new message proved I had been right, but it also proved he had more to lose, and that made him more dangerous. Near midnight, my phone buzzed with a restricted number. No voicemail followed. Then another alert appeared from my email provider. A sign in attempt was blocked. Location unknown. I changed my passwords again. I added extra security. My hands moved on their own, like they had learned fear as a skill. Then a final message came from my mutual contact. He wrote, "He is saying you hacked him, and you will pay. He is telling anyone who listens that he knows how to handle you." I set my phone down and listened to the room. My heater clicked. My walls creaked. Every small sound made my skin tighten. A soft scrape came from outside my front door, like something thin dragged across the mat. I waited, holding my breath, and heard it again. When I finally opened the door, the hallway was empty. Something lay on my doormat. It was a plain gold wedding band.